Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
You're talking to two guys from Hialeah and West Kendall and one with a Raleigh Fingers mustache, so I think you're good.
Ricky Vaughn style, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
Who flips their bat like that in a single?
I'm here for
A guy that's hitting 200, bro.
Listen, you paid $5 for your ticket, even if you're sitting behind home plate.
Gets paid the big bucks. He knows a little better than I do.
And he's very handsome.
So handsome.
super handsome. Super handsome.
Your expectations as a Marlins fan should have changed by now.
All the feels, man. Like, I love Pablito so much.
Lineup doesn't see for your ball.
It depends on what you give up,
I
man.
don't like that question, Danny.
I don't.
Why would you let me see it if I can't have it? Like, I feel like the Marlins.
Sure.
Starting staff has looked so much better.
All three of them.
I'm looking forward to this one, guys. I believe.
The Marlins have the worst run differential in the National League.
Oh man, no, this was the wrong choice, but
I am ready to get hurt again.
Welcome, everybody, to episode number 44 of the Battered Marlins Fans podcast. I am your host, Daniel Granada, and alongside me, as always, we got three other Battered fans. You know what? Real quick, I was listening to that intro, and we were talking about how handsome all these guys are. They're just not as handsome anymore. With all the shit that's been happening, it just doesn't feel as handsome anymore. But anyway, we're gonna go from my left to your right, Mr. Bratton Griffin. How are you doing, sir?
Fucking terrible, man.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
You got some double digits.
Yeah. Well, we got to double digits. We gave Luis Araez away for pennies. The centerpiece of the trade hasn't even played for the Marlins organization yet. So, that's a good sign. Eddie Cabrera to the IL. We're doing this.
Mr. Bratton, Mr. Spaz, how you doing, sir?
I think all of our calculations were wrong for the for the series, the two series.
I predicted a fucking cycle.
He was almost right.
Yeah,
Nick Gordon was what was he, a double away?
It was a triple.
Oh, I thought he had the triple.
No.
Yeah,
he was missing the triple. Danny, that was a crazy ass prediction. I don't know how the hell you pulled that one out.
Look, once Luis Araez got traded, I would have taken back that prediction. So I wouldn't even take prediction for getting close, because I was trying to be optimistic about everything, and then we traded Luis Araez like less than 24 hours after our episode, and I was like, you know what, f this, f everything.
Yeah, I'm even if it's other teams, like a cycle watch is very, very exciting. Like I've watched random ass teams just because there's a cycle watch. I had no fucking idea that the Marlins were on cycle watch. That's how much like I'm checked out. But that would have been awesome. That would have been really cool. But no, it didn't happen.
Mr. Cali.
I'm a shell of my former self. Just sad, just bad baseball, just Miguel Rojas getting hits.
What's that beeping noise?
Dugout, yeah, someone needs to figure the fuck out.
Am I the only one hearing that?
No, that's me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure if it was me or not. Okay,
it's me.
Yeah, Miguel Rojas getting hits against us and talking shit to our dugout. That's Spaz. Figure it the fuck out, guy.
I'm not tech savvy, and I just connected my phone and my computer, so I don't know what's going on. Sorry.
People are gonna think like Callie's cursing and we're bleeping it out or something.
But yeah, we fucking suck, man. What are we gonna do? It's same shit, different week. We're bad at baseball. We're bad at everything. It's just bad at trading. We're bad at all the things.
I do want to get into that trading, because you said we're bad at trading, because guys, I don't really understand, but I do want to get into that a little later.
All right, well, let's get into real quick the last two series. And again, not like last year. Last year was fun. This year's a mess. So we don't have to get into it into detail. But real quick, we had those three against the Athletics. I mean, I thought we might sweep them. I thought we were going to get a cycle. I know, was it Bratton that predicted a perfect game from six, though? Like, we were trying to get ourselves hyped up. I mean, at least they won that game. But Luis Araez got traded in the middle of the first game, right? Like, he found out in the dugout during that A's Marlins game.
It was before.
It was right before, yeah.
Oh, it was right before? Okay.
Yeah, he was on the lineup that was initially released, and then he was a late scratch. And they focused on him what's crazy is he did an interview with Bally Sports right beforehand, where he was just like basically interviewing himself. It was kind of cool. If you guys haven't seen it, well, maybe don't watch it. It'll make you miss him more. But then, then you can see when he was like getting ready to go out, and Skip's like, no, you got to sit. He's like, what's going on? And I don't think it was officially traded at that point, but it was happening.
And then to throw salt in the wound, he got 4 hits in his debut with the Padres.
Yeah.
Which is
sounds about right.
He started slow, but he got to 299 batting average right before he left. Like he was right there to get back to 300. Yeah, Brian.
No, Jesus Christ.
How do I disconnect this shit? Sorry, let me get out. I'll go back in. Sorry, guys. Go.
No, Spaz. I'm just kidding with you, man.
It's fine. It's fine.
But no, what I was gonna say is like, I don't know about you guys, but Luis Araez kind of looks like he was born to wear a Padres uniform.
Yeah, I mean,
he looks good in the Padres brown. Which is even more heartbreaking because I thought he was born to wear teal.
That's because he looks like Tatis's like fat cousin or something. Like they look like they could be related.
Who's really good at baseball?
Yeah, but look, it hurt to see that, and we're gonna get more into that in a second. But back to that A series, lost the first game 3-1, which was a Ryan Weather start. Then the Athletics, the Saturday game, they kicked our ass 20-4, and then lost with them. Somehow put up 12 runs on Sunday. Sixto start, 112-3. I believe Sixto got the no decision, like I predicted, or no? No.
I don't know.
He didn't get the win. Sixto didn't get the win. It was one of the relievers.
So he got the no decision, like we thought he might. And then the Dodgers, we went in there, no hope. We lost all 3, and we thought. I think we went around the table and we asked, "Are we going to get to 10 wins by next week?" I think we all said yes. We got there barely, but we got there. So, I mean, things. I'll start with you, Cali. What do you think about the last week of Marlins baseball?
Bro, like the thing is, it's like what is there to say, right? Like, you know, it's one thing to lose. Just getting our teeth kicked in repeatedly is just an exhausting endeavor to endure as a Marlins fan, you know. Thanks, LMF. It's we need all the support. I think we all need, like, across Marlins Twitter, we all need support right now.
Need positivity.
And I remember I've been saying, like, if we're gonna do the fire sale, like, let's just fucking do it already.
Let's do it already. Yeah.
And then it happened. Now it's like it's starting to trickle on. And Bendix even admitted that he'd been talking to the Cubs. So it looks like maybe there's a move with them coming on the horizon. It's like just really hard to watch this team, you know. And I begrudgingly turn on I didn't watch any of the I don't watch much of either series because those West Coast start
way too late. Yeah, way
too late. Just brutal. And I have a almost 3-year-old at home. It's tough to be up that late. But it's it's same shit, different day. It's, it's unfortunate, but here we are, 10 and 29, presumably more moves coming on the horizon. It only makes sense that there's more moves coming on the horizon. And then, Bendix giving up these dog shit interviews. It's like, it's just annoying. It's annoying all around.
We were talking about Betancourt last week about how his batting average was like 22 or something like that. Yeah. Over the last week, he batted 300. He's up to 86, I believe.
That's so bad that you can hit 300.
87.
87. My apologies, Mr. Christian Betancourt. 87, not 86. So I'm not even going to joke around about saying bright spot. But, some improvement, I guess. Mr. Bratton Griffin, what do you think about the last week of Marlins baseball?
It's been tough to watch.
Tim Anderson, tough to watch.
He has. I was definitely wrong on calling for him. But you watch, we're gonna trade him to somebody for peanuts, and he's gonna.
Nah.
No, he's done.
He's not getting traded.
No.
He has one of the
No,
worst
but-
baseball savant pages I've ever seen. By the way,
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
never seen one
Yeah,
that bad.
every statistic, he's in the bottom 25% in every
It's
hitting category.
you know, and I saw a tweet on a tweet today, a couple of them, and people are like, why don't we just bench Anderson and put Jazz back at short? Like, give the guy his position back. Let's raise his value there. Like, let's just
they're paying him
do
$6 million. That guy's gonna be on the field same way. Obviously,
I know, but yeah, going back to this week in baseball for the Marlins, it was rough. There's no bright spots for me. You know,
Brian De La Cruz is playing pretty well.
Yeah, he's
trade him.
At this point, he's just increasing his trade value, right?
Yeah.
Because he is probably one of our most valuable assets because he's got, I think, 3 years left of team control. He's hitting pretty well. He's doing all right. Like, before the season, I don't think we would have said that was a name that would generate a lot of interest, but I think that's happening now. And I mean, we can go into the trade board later. But
any team that suffers an injury in the outfield, I think Brian De La Cruz would be a great replation for any championship contender or anything like that.
Absolutely,
that'd be a really underrated get for a team.
Yeah,
you clearly won't have to. You clearly won't have to give up too much for him because
the Marlins don't request too much back.
And not only that, you kind of fuck your own value now with what you got back for Araez, because if you're trading a back-to-back Silver Slugger winner, you know, one of the best hitter in baseball over the last 2 years, for 4 prospects, you know, and on top of that, you're eating his entire fucking salary, which LMF just
wild.
You know,
but you didn't even know that until I text you.
Yeah,
I was like, "Yo, we're paying them $8 million."
We're paying Luis Araez $8 million to not play baseball for us, which is insane.
Wild.
And in terms of
we have to take that bad contract.
Yeah, in terms of DLC and kind of what LMF is touching on right now, I half expected him to be one of the guys because of the team control, and he's still, you know, fairly young, that he'd be one of the guys to kind of keep around and usher into the next era, which still could very well be the case. But
then who do you trade?
Yeah, no, but the thing is, and like you said, Danny, like someone's going to go down on some contender, or even a pseudo contender, or just a team looking for like maybe next year's our year. They're going to see his contract, they're going to see the team control, and they're going to make a move for him. You know, he's
solid. He's solid.
And then the other thing is very clearly, I think the front office is saying there's no one on this team we want to build around. Because if you really wanted to keep a core of players together and build around it, you would think that would be like Luis Araez would be on the top of that list, because I don't think he was the most valuable piece that could have been shipped out. You would think that Berger's there, Jazz is there just because he's the face of the franchise. I don't know baseball-wise that they value him as much. And then De La Cruz. But at this point, I really do expect us to basically blast everybody into the sun for prospects.
Guys,
I think Cubs. You mentioned the Cubs trade. That is 100% for Tanner Scott. They need relievers, and he would be a good fit in that bullpen. So I think he's probably the next one to go, probably followed by, I don't know, pick your poison.
So speaking of the Cubs, right now you're talking about trades. So over the last week, I don't think a lot of people have watched a lot of baseball just because of that situation with Bally's. Like, I think you have to subscribe to Bally's or whatnot. Like,
and the fact that it was a West Coast trip, nobody's staying up late to watch Marlins baseball. I'm sorry, it's just not happening.
Before, like when I think West Coast baseball, I think of Tommy Hutton and Rich Waltz. It was like a big thing, like up late with the fish, and I'd be up, man. I'd be up at like 12:30, like watching what's his name, Steve Cishek, you know, give up fucking bomb. But going back to the Cubs, my wife just came back from a trip in Chicago, and it was a day game. It was Cubs Padres. Araez was there. She was telling me, and she's like, babe, it's like 1:30 in the afternoon. The bars are packed. the stadium's packed, and I was like, babe, she's like, I wish the Marlins was like this. I was like, I don't know what to tell you. There's just no way.
Just go to the north, northeast,
Well, like when I
Midwest.
I was in Baltimore for opening weekend, and that Thursday I remember we were kind of walking around, and again for us we're off, but this is just a Thursday. It was a 4:00 start. We're walking around at noon, and the streets are packed with orange and black, and around the stadium, like, so around Camden Yards there's a few bars, there's and then like especially like if you really know the Orioles, there's like Pickles, Club 717 and stuff like that. Section 1717, and it was like spilling onto the streets. Like they closed it, like they closed it off. Like there was easily 10,000 people like just hanging out outside the stadium. It's like, yeah, there's places with real baseball culture where like people will take a day off and and do that. That's just, and I think that was originally the plan with Lone Depot, but just not happening.
The baseball culture doesn't exist down here.
No. It could though. It could.
You think so? I don't think so.
Yes, because we saw it with the World Baseball Classic.
If the World Baseball Classic became a league and it was played here 181 times a year, it wouldn't get the same pop.
No, I think if you have a team, like we saw it in the playoff run-in. We saw it last year. The Panthers were going crazy. The Heat were going crazy, and people were packing Lone Depot. We had 27,000 people in that stadium. Like that doesn't happen.
How long? For like a week or two?
Right.
It wasn't
but
long.
Exactly a week.
They were there.
And I guarantee you, if MLB could go back in their time machine and pick the Moss brothers instead of Sherman, we would have packed stadium because we would have ownership that invests in players, and we would be starting a winning mentality. There would be like, if you put a contender with some Latin stars down here, people will go to the ballpark.
I think that they would go to the ballpark more. Do I think you will ever have a baseball culture down here? I think 0%.
Unless you start winning.
Takes years.
Winning fixes everything. And
you would have to build a semi-dynasty, kind of like what the Astros had over the last decade. Yeah. Something similar to that.
Absolutely.
Like Jeremy mentioned in the chat. Like Jeremy mentioned in the chat, like in the early 2000s and stuff, when that the stretch from like the late 90s to like the early mid 2000s,
the
Marlins were good and the games would be packed. And I remember I had season tickets a lot of those years.
Yeah,
and you'd show up and parking was impossible, and the stadium was packed and the concourse was packed, and that was a football stadium, like, yeah, they closed off usually the upper levels by the around the outfield and stuff like that, but the lower levels were packed, club level was packed, the top going like first to third was there were people there, man, and so there's precedence for it, but you have to win. Down here in Miami especially, if you're not winning, people aren't showing up, man, and that's like I think the only team
that's talking like Miami Heat and everything.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I think the only team that's kind of cracked the code, that's established a good culture, are the Heat, because even in the down years, the attendance usually doesn't dip too much. They don't have down years. That's why. Yeah, and again, the Heat have a pretty successful culture in terms of like, there's been a couple bad years, but they're few and far between. Even the Dolphins, they usually do okay, but there was a stretch there that the Dolphins were struggling with the attendance too, and they remodeled Hard Rock Stadium to make it smaller, to make it what it is now. Then it's helped with the crowd and stuff like that. But it's you have to win down here, man. The Panthers, look at the Panthers now. The Panthers are a perennial playoff team, and it's tough to go. I remember when I was a season ticket holder when they weren't making playoffs. When I lived in Broward, and I would go, and it was I would buy season tickets, and I'd have to sell some for $12-15.
Panthers are back, baby. Panthers are back.
And we all have the same experience with Inter Miami. We were all season ticket holders when it was like the four of us and three random guys in the stadium. We paid our season ticket fees. We could never resell our tickets. We couldn't even give them away.
No, we couldn't.
Now you bring in a global superstar, and here you go. It's sold out. And I think if you were to do something similar, like the Heat kind of launched everything, like LFM is saying, like you launch it with like a superstar. If an owner comes in and brings us a star and puts a competitive team around him, I'm sure you'll see the ballpark fill up. It's not going to be sellouts and like it's going to take a long time to rejuvenate the area around Lone Depot because you have to prove to the people who were going to be leasing those storefronts that this is here to stay. And right now, there's no incentive for them because there's no extra revenue on game days.
There isn't. And I thought that was a great point that LMF made with the whole Bayside for it's not the AAA anymore, the Kaseya Center where the Heat play, and what they're trying to do with Inter Miami. And then he brought up even the battery area right there for the Braves, like all those stadiums that have just all that surrounding. Like I heard, it was on here that we were talking about the Colorado Rockies. Where there's a hotel that's right outside the stadium. When you go down from the hotel, there's like bars and everything right out. Like they make it a destination, not just for the game. So it's like an event outside of the game, and unfortunately, they don't have that here.
No,
you go to Lone Depot and it's just to watch the Marlins lose. That's it.
But those businesses have to have like a reason to want to move in there, and the Rockies had good teams in the, late 90s.
Todd Helton days.
Yeah, the Todd Helton days.
They went to the World Series shortly after we did.
Yeah.
But sorry, go ahead.
No, but then, they have like they've invested in the team, but also like their partnership with Coors like is kind of invested in the area around the stadium. And the Marlins probably need something like that. They need like a brand to buy into the area to kind of help other businesses decide.
I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
And I'll start with Spaz. LMF said something that I actually agree with. If obviously they wouldn't have, but if they would have somehow landed Ohtani, I still don't think that stadium sells out. I still think
that
sells
out, but I think
it would
have decent attendance numbers.
People would show up for a time. It wouldn't sell out, absolutely not. But like,
if you sign Ohtani and then 5 years you continue to build around him, then you sell out. But one player isn't going to sell out.
But
right away.
I mean, we saw it. No one on Ohtani level. Ohtani's a generational talent.
Let's remember Reyes and Pujols and all these people with Ozzy.
Not Pujols, but
not Pujols.
Never came.
No. It was Reyes. No, they had somebody else. They're not
Burley.
No.
Mark Burley.
Yeah, Burley, and then.
But what I was saying is like, there's been some precedence for people showing up when we've had talented rosters. Because even like the Stanton and Yelich years when Jose would pitch and stuff like that, people would show up. I remember showing up for Jose. I would almost like there was a point there that I would show up specifically if Jose was pitching. Like I would make
it was a celebration.
I remember Happy Jose Day going around, going on Twitter and stuff like that. And
to be fair, though, this year, if Yuri was healthy, I think we probably would have tried to make at least a couple of his starts because it's the same kind of talent.
Yeah, but people would show up for those guys. And again, the Stanton years, the Yelich years. People showed up for that, when we had that outfield of Ozuna, Stanton, and Yelich, like people were coming, people were showing up. But it's really hard to get people to show up for Avisaíl Garcia and Vidal Brujan, and it doesn't. There's no star here to move the needle, and maybe if Sandy and Yuri were healthy, it was different. And I know when Sandy would pitch, people would show up a little more. When Yuri would pitch, I remember like we all showed up for Yuri's first start, and
he fell.
Well,
it was,
and I think what we have to do here as well is because like LMF keeps hitting us with this didn't sell out, and they didn't. But selling out and having a good culture around the team, like a healthy attendance, is kind of two different things. I don't think any of us think that on a day in and day out basis we will ever see Lone Depot sold out. Not every day. I think all of us have a realistic goal that we would probably big series, weekends, sure, maybe a sellout in an ideal world, right? But I think we would hope to see attendance close to the 20s. I think we would all be okay with that. And I think that would make that area a much more attractive place.
Yeah, and something that Talk Baseball is mentioning in the chat too is that like there is a toxic culture around the club, and like there is a disdain for the club in this community. Like,
Mhm.
and I don't blame
It's
people for
getting
feeling
worse.
that way.
Yeah,
I don't
but
blame.
I think it's kind of old because I'm sorry to cut you off, Cody, but so many people point like, oh, they did this to me in '97 and '03. It's like, bitch, that was 20 years ago. Get over it. Like, this is a new
No,
regiment.
but when you've invested so much into the club and you see like especially like the stadium deal, like that left a lot of, especially people that
Yeah, that
that
stadium deal. Yeah.
affected within that area, that pissed a lot of people off, you know.
Yeah.
And again, the whole thing that like, okay, and I know we're going to talk about trades in a bit, and I have a laundry list to go through, but the when you see championship teams and you see good players around and they get traded for in almost every single time nothing in return, people are going to be upset, and people are like, why the fuck do I keep investing in this shit? Because it's a fucking disaster. And
Oh.
yeah, Charles is right. Like there has been no effort to bring in local guys. Like JD Martinez was right there. Zach
We
Neto
felt that he was coming for that reason, though.
yeah, Zach Neto, that was a draft thing. Like that's tough to that's kind of tough to put your finger on. But there's been guys throughout the year, Yasmani Grandal, Jan Gomes, Edwin Rios. There's been a ton, Nestor Cortez. Like there's been a ton of guys that
Yeah.
that are local products that I'm sure would would
The
want
only
to here.
local, the
Even
only
Nick
local
Castellanos, when he
product
was a
right
free
now
agent,
is
he wanted to come down here, and we took the cheap route and we signed George Soler. You know.
And
And
the only local
Luzardo-
talent we have now
Luzardo's
is
a local kid,
Luzardo,
and it's not
and we're
it's
gonna
not-
trade him as soon as he's healthy.
So
I mean, well, now that you said we're gonna trade him, I guess we'll get into that. And just real quick, the whole happened 20 years ago. It's a different regimen. Like at some point, you have to you're gonna keep blaming this group of front office and these players,
But
this
it's
uniform,
not-
like everything. Like I
It's
get
not
it,
the same.
I get it, but like at what point do you like? All right, let's start fresh. Like
And the thing
once
is,
they
we
start
haven't-
winning,
When do you mean
we
start
haven't had
fresh?
owner. The worst thing that happened with, and I put up a Twitter poll the other day, and I was interested to see the result. But I asked people like, who would you rather have as an owner right now? Like now that we've kind of seen the sample size, would you rather have Loria, or would you rather have Bruce Sherman? And I think Loria won the poll by like 67% to 33% or something like that. And and the thing is, like, yeah, Loria and Sampson were scumbags and they made terrible trades, but they at least understood that in order to be able to sell off the talent so you don't have to pay them, you had to put a winner on the field. And I think that was kind of the common consensus that I saw throughout that poll. Like Loria and Sampson, as bad as they were, we were never like this bad. And
Never
we
had Ruhan on that.
we were never this hopeless. Like even after the 03 year when we traded off everybody, like we had the late 2000s that we were pretty damn good still. It's
I think it's funny, and I laughed when you put up the poll because you remember the preview show. I asked the question. I said, "Do you think we're going to get to a point where we look at Bendix and Sherman and say that we are worse off with them than we were with Loria and Sampson?" And we're here. We're absolutely here because, to Callie's point, I have never felt so hopeless as a Marlins fan. Like there has always been something that I've been able to say, you know what, we got this kid we're just giving him at bats now, and like he could come up, and like we have some pieces that are showing promise, but we're not showing anything. And the promise that we're showing, we're shoving back down into the farm system because we don't want to lose any salary or any control over them for the years. Like we're manipulating the system.
well,
Like,
the whole Bendix thing, like I think to Callie's point over the last couple episodes is it almost feels like Bendix, and I'm not saying that he wanted to lose, right? Nobody wants to lose, but it's almost like he threw it out there and he was like, whatever, because he didn't try to improve this team.
no.
He kind of just rolled it back out there, almost knowing that it was a lost cause. He should have just blown it up in the offseason.
Well, yeah, and so now, and I agree. Like we wouldn't have liked it then, right? But
Right.
the
It's much
players
better than
would
what
have
we're
been at
seeing
their
now.
peak value. We would have gotten more back for these players, or been able to trade them. Now, most of the pieces that we were going to try and trade are on the IL. We can't trade Cabrera. We can't trade Lizardo. Araez, we definitely got less than what we would have in the offseason. I know, like, it's easy to play this game and say, like, oh, in hindsight, it's easy to say this, but like, I think that's just showing kind of the flaws in the thinking of the front office, in my opinion.
And,
you know,
sorry, go ahead, finish, Brandon.
No, I was just going to kind of address because, LMF is asking, like, how am I blaming Bendix for Kim's shit players? And these players made the playoffs. This team made the playoffs. And if Bendix thought they were shit, then she could have blown it up in the offseason and gotten more value for those pieces because there are valuable pieces on this team. If he really thinks he needed to rebuild the team, he could have traded Berger in the offseason. Berger has a ton of control and is a very valuable trade asset. He could have traded off our starting pitching. He could have made moves, but he didn't. And I get like we can't blame Bendix for everything, and I 100% agree with that. But what we're seeing is that he's kind of doing this foot in, foot out thing. Like, it's okay, I'm going to trade these guys, but let me like wait a little bit and see how they run out and see how they do. And then all of a sudden, like, here we are and trade values are in the toilet.
Yeah,
I like talk baseball.
Talk baseball is a fun one. My issue with Bendix is like, okay, like, yeah, we won we made the playoffs and all that stuff, and we can look back in hindsight and say that, like, we had a lot of fluky wins and we had a ton of one run wins that got us there, and it's fine. We rolled that in. But there was no effort to make the team any better. We lost Solar. We didn't replace that power by any stretch. We only really just signed Tim Anderson, and then
that's going well,
Yeah, but and it's something, and we can talk shit, but it was something we were all excited about at a point, right?
Yeah. I've been calling for 2 years. I'm not gonna lie.
My biggest issue with Bendix is that, and it's been what I've been harping on since the offseason is that, like, it doesn't feel like there's a plan here. There's no, like, again, and I've said this 1,000 times on the show, if we would come out and say, like, look, guys, this is gonna suck right now, like, it's gonna be brutal for a little bit, but I promise you there's a plan for 3-4 years from now where we're gonna compete. I can at least bite my tongue a little bit and say, like, okay, there's a plan in place. We can fucking deal with it. But the thing is, you look at last season and you think, like, okay, we're probably a bat and 2 bullpen arms away from being a real competitor, from being pretty good. But the bullpen got demonstrably worse. And then pitching injuries, like, no one could have predicted that. But aside from pitching, we are the worst hitting team in baseball right now. And that's not a euphemism. We are the worst hitting team in baseball. So what's changed, and a lot of it is club culture, because we all found out that now Skip's not coming back. So, if it's hard to rally around a guy that we know is not coming back. And even as a player, and I'm a guy that played, I didn't play pro or anything, but I played in college, and that type of shit is contagious, bro. Like, once like, for the proverbial vibes are off, once the boat starts rocking in a way that you don't want it to, it's tough, man, and it's contagious. And bad baseball is contagious, just like good baseball is contagious, man. And that's why we kind of pulled it out last year, because the club culture was great, and the common denominator between then and now is Bendix.
Let's hope we don't see what they have planned, but maybe they got something going. They just haven't laid out the plan for us, and that
all he's had is word salads, bro. That's all he's had.
They need to get like a spokesman for him. Just get him out of in front of the camera.
Just honestly, like, Peter Bendix talking in front of a camera is a fucking disaster. Like, he's a fucking disaster. Like, there should be, like,
said, yes, Bendix is a horrible at PR. We can all agree he needs to swipe that smug smile off our screens.
And this is something minuscule, but it's something he said that bothered me so much. And it probably bothered me more than it should. But he said, like, oh, we want a team that wins 90 games a year. Like, how is that your goal, bro? Like, at least give me the fucking bullshit cliche, like, oh yeah, we want to compete for championships. Like, you're admitting that, like, the goal is, like, okay, we want to. And again,
he wants the Rays South.
Yeah, we want to be the Rays again, which is, and we see what a disaster the Rays are. Like, they're staying in Tampa by their skin of their fucking teeth as much as we are. It fucking sucks, man. But unfortunately, this is a beast, and But
had
anyway,
a good time and they couldn't fill the stadium.
I'm over talking about Bendix's dumb fucking face. Can we talk? Can we talk about trade history? Because I have fucking like
Yes.
I have like 12
Yes.
tabs ready to go.
And just real quick, I think Fish on the farm might have been watching this delayed as they were commenting. But we were talking earlier about the atmosphere around the stadium. They were bringing up the space issue around the stadium. It's impossible to create. The Battery or Wrigley Field location is the problem.
And I agree with that. And he's totally right. And the Battery is awesome.
Mhm.
They do have a ton of like land and all that. But for the amount of attendance that we get, if we got those little storefronts, even that brewery, I remember there was a brewery there, Nightlife Brewing. It was like in the bottom of the parking garage.
Yeah.
That wouldn't even get packed. Those people had to close. So like for the attendance that what we would consider a success, we could just use those little storefronts. And they closed down Bowl Bar, unfortunately. Rest in peace.
RIP, classic.
Yeah, a Bowl Bar was a fine little establishment, man. A little sketchy.
I used to go there to drink underage once upon a time.
Absolutely, man.
And we now know why they're closed.
a ton of.
all right.
There was much worse going on there, bro. But anyway,
Go ahead, Callie. All right, so we were talking about the fact that there's a rebuild, and then the fact that we've had failed rebuilds in the past. And Callie went on his research and got some of the worst trades that we've done, just so we can it could give us some hope as to how this rebuild will be going in the very near future. So, Callie, go ahead and take it away with what you.
all right.
what you
So
found.
I'm not going to point out the obvious ones, right? Like we know the Miguel Cabrera trade, right? Like we traded Miguel Cabrera, Dontrell Willis for Andrew Miller, Cameron Maben, Burke Baden-Hop, and some guys that never saw Major League Baseball and stuff like that, which, all of them became. Andrew Miller sucked for us first and foremost. He was a starter, and then he went to the Red Sox and became a closer, and he was good. And then Cameron Maben had a good solid career, and Burke Baden-Hop was okay, but we traded him. But we traded a Hall of Famer and an electric pitcher for nobody. And then obviously, some of the more recent ones. So we traded Stan, which was 100% a salary dump, which I can absolutely understand, from an ownership perspective. Like, you don't want to inherit that contract, and we traded him for nothing.
He was, as soon as he signed that contract, you knew that he wasn't going to be around for a while.
Yeah.
And I was actually, I was bummed about it, but I was more relieved. I'm like, oh my God, thank God we don't have to fucking pay him that. Like, I think
we got nothing back for him. And then I know this one made Twitter rounds lately, is the Yelich trade that we traded for Lewis Brinson, who's not playing in the Mexican League, Isan Diaz, who is not, playing affiliated baseball right now. Jordan Yamamoto is a high school baseball coach in Tampa at Dwyer, I don't know. I'm not sure where Dwyer is actually. And then whoever the other one is just Monty Harrison is playing college football now.
I was just gonna say that's why it's making the rounds.
Yeah. I'm not gonna touch on those. All right, but we won 2 World Series, 97 and 2003. After both of those, we blew it the fuck up. All right, so I just took a couple from each team. So Kevin Brown, we traded him to the Padres for Steve Hoff, Derek Lee, which he's going to come up again later.
That was good.
Derek Lee was a decent comeback.
Derek Lee was solid. Okay, that's actually one of the better ones. All right, clicking the X. I have so many tabs open that my computer's like having a heart attack.
overheat.
Yeah, Al Leiter. All right, we traded Al Leiter to the New York Mets for Rob Stratton, Jesus Sanchez, not that Jesus Sanchez, and AJ Burnett, who was solid for us, won a World Series with us, and then we let him walk.
So far you're giving me some hope. We got a first baseman, we got a starting pitcher. All right, let's go. We're building a squad right now.
It only gets worse.
It's gonna get dark. It's gonna get dark.
This isn't gonna get any better. Hold on, because now it doesn't even want to click right now. Next up we have Livan Hernandez, who we traded to the San Francisco Giants for Nate Bump and Jason Grilli, who were okay relievers with us.
Nate Bump was all right.
Nate Bump was okay. Yeah. Jason Grilli was okay. But we're seeing the
So yes,
Never up.
This
You
is
get
what
the
it is.
show.
This is what
You
it
get
is.
it. You get it.
my I have so many tabs open that my computer's dying. But next was Charles Johnson that was in that package with Gary Sheffield that we traded to the Dodgers. You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Am I still here?
Yeah.
Okay. My internet's like dying right now because all the tabs are open. But I can't. It won't even pull up right now. But Charles Johnson traded. Oh, here you go. My computer came back to life. This is such good podcasting right here.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Hey.
We got rid of Charles Johnson and we got Sheffield. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we traded Charles Johnson and Gary Sheffield for and then that was the trade that we traded both of them, Jim Eisenreich, and I want to say Bonilla, if this thing will ever load for me.
Well, while you're waiting for it to load, fun fact, I contacted Charles Johnson once a month last season, trying to get him to come on the show.
I remember that. You said
Yeah,
that.
that's right.
Once a month, I would like, hey, Charles, what's going on?
Speaking of
so
Charles,
the
Never
trade.
happened.
I got it up. This is the famous one. Bobby Bonilla, Jim Eisenreich, Gary Sheffield to the Los Angeles Dodgers for Mike Piazza, who was with us for 5 games, hit a triple in those 5 games. Fun fact. And Todd Zeal, who was just a middle of the road third baseman. Luis Castillo, most games played in a Marlins uniform, traded to the Minnesota Twins for Scott Tyler and Travis Boyer.
King? Who?
Exactly. Edgar Renteria, Danny's boy, traded by the Florida Marlins to the St. Louis Cardinals for Armando Almanza, Braden Looper, and Pablo Ozuna. Braden Looper was a closer for us for a short time.
I remember. I remember.
What did the Marlins get back for Mike Piazza?
I don't even remember. I'd have to check, but it probably wasn't anything good.
Hall of Fame plaque. The Marlins are on the Hall of Fame plaque. That was the deal.
Now that was 97. The 2003 team. Derek Lee. We traded to the Chicago Cubs for something called Mike Nannini and the infamous Hee-Sop Choi.
Choi.
Damn, I haven't heard that in a long time.
Neither has he. Derek Lee traded by the Marlins along with Josh traded by the Marlins to the Chicago Cubs for I didn't read Derek Lee. Josh Beckett and Mike Lowell traded along with Guillermo Mota to the Boston Red Sox for Jesus Delgado, Harvey Garcia. This is one of the better ones. We also got back Hanley Ramirez and Anibal Sanchez.
That's a good trade.
That was I mean, not good because we traded
Not
Josh
good.
Beckett.
Yeah, you get rid of
I would have
Beckett.
kept Josh Beckett and Lowell.
Yeah.
Well,
I would've kept
Lowell
both of them.
also,
Hanley had the 342 year with us, and Anibal
I
Sanchez.
know. I
Anibal
love Hanley, but
Yeah, Juan Pierre, loosely related to Brenton Griffin, traded.
No, not related. There's a connection. We're not related.
Traded by the Florida Marlins to the Chicago Cubs for Sergio Mitre, Reynel Pinto, who was the bane of my existence for a time,
God,
and
this is the worst.
Ricky Nolasco, which was an okay one.
all right. Yeah, no, that's good.
And
Well,
then
it wasn't terrible.
no, finally Brad Penny traded along with Hee-Sop Choi and Bill Murphy to the Los Angeles Dodgers for Paulo Duca for half a year Marlin, Juan Encarnacion, and we got back Guillermo Mota.
That was Brad Penny.
Brad Penny.
Yeah.
I love Brad Penny.
Yeah. So
Not gonna lie, I was excited about the Leduca. I was there for his first game.
What about
Real
Realmuto?
Real Muto, we got Sixto.
Yeah, that's not a good.
That's not how we refer to him on the show, Callie. It's Spazzy's boy, Sixto.
I don't even know how I ended up.
Don't
with
forget
that.
to preface it.
Spazzy and Sixto sit in the parking lot at Lone Depot drinking Presidentes after the games.
Oh my god!
Oh, why not?
Could you imagine if they would have kept
Crazy.
Realmuto, Yelich, like the core of that late teens team?
So if you think about it, like that's what to me, that's the closest we've ever gotten to having like kind of what the Orioles have now.
So
Like the Orioles have all this talent that came up at the same time and is like blossoming together, and that's what we were like right on the precipice of, and then we sold it all.
All right, but remember during that time, like we had that awesome outfield. I remember, and the line was we're 2 pitchers away, or we're 2 or 3 pitchers away. You know, like we have this awesome lineup. We have Stanton fucking crushing balls. We have Yelich doing good. Like everyone's doing like pretty good, and we're 2 to 3 pitchers away because we only have like 2 good starters or something like that. So it was always something missing, and they fucking got rid of everybody. So it doesn't matter.
Someone mentioned Ugether Urbina. That was an interesting trade, all right, because that could have changed the trajectory of the Marlins for a long time. So we got at Ugether Urbina, worked out. We traded him in July. We on the World Series team. We gave up some player Ryan Snare, an outfielder named Will Smith, not that Will Smith, not getting jiggy with it, and first baseman, potential Hall of Famer Adrian Gonzalez.
There you go, Jeremy.
That's your contact guys.
Urbina won the World Series with us, right?
Yeah, he won a World Series with us. He's now in prison for the rest of his life. Fun fact, because he tried to kill a.
Yeah,
in Venezuela, no?
Yeah,
I remember that.
Does
That was wild.
maybe somebody in the chat?
He ended up with the Rockies, didn't he?
I'm not sure.
That's when he got in trouble.
Yeah, if anybody can help me out, we had a closer like right around. It might have been like 02 or 04 or 05, but we were still in Joe Robbie. This closer would scream at the ball. Does anybody remember that? He would get the ball, and he would just yell at it. And I for a second, Urbina, I was like,
Kevin
wait,
Gregg?
no,
Todd
it was
Jones.
It was a Hispanic dude. Because it reminded me of Urbina. I remember, and he would just yell at the ball before throwing it, and then like he'd throw it. It was the weirdest thing. I got to look this up later on. And I'll
real quick question before we get out of here, because we're just about done. Whatever happened to Dan Ugla?
He went to the Braves.
Cali got into a fight with him at some point in Fort Lauderdale.
I did not get into a fight with him.
That was a story that you told us, huh?
I didn't get into a fight with him. We were in a bar in Las Olas.
You told us this on our first episode ever.
Yeah. I turned around. I bumped into him. I spilled his drink all over him. He just stared at me, and I'm like, holy shit, you're Dan Ugla. And he just like leaned into me. He's like, shut the fuck up. Like, I'm like, cool. Yeah, works for me, man. And
Armando Benitez.
That guy was tough too.
Okay. So
quick question, or go around the horn, and then we'll sign off after this. Just because of what Spaz was just saying, it's kind of curious. Favorite closer of all time for you guys, and I'll start. Yankee fan, growing up, went to Yankee Stadium, 4-year-old. Obviously, for mine, by default, has to be Mariano Rivera. Right. So besides Mariano Rivera, right? Because like if you're from Argentina, favorite soccer player, it has to be Messi, and then you can. So Mariano, but whatever. So besides Mariano, my favorite closer of all time, Eric Gagne. I used to love
that's a good one.
Eric Gagne was fun.
You remember when he was like approaching the approaching like the saves record, and like I remember like they would cut off baseball games and go to that.
Yeah.
It was great.
I used
that
to
was
love
so
Eric
exciting.
Gagne. Brandon, favorite closer all time, Marlins or not Marlins, doesn't matter.
I'm gonna get roasted for this, but I'm gonna go Smoltzy, John Smoltz.
Okay,
he's in rarefied air. I think he's like the only player to win to have 150 saves and like 300 wins.
300 wins.
And
did you say
listen,
John Smoltz?
I did.
Billy Wagner.
Well, that was a good one.
Wagner's probably mine. I love Billy Wagner.
I forgot about Wagner. Hoffman
former Marlin also. We traded him for Gary Sheffield.
Well, you know what, Kyle? You should do one of your polls of what do you remember Hoffman as, because I think Padres.
It's definitely a Padre. What the
fuck?
Oh yeah.
Of
course,
I'm just saying.
Billy Wagner is probably my favorite ever. I'm trying to think of someone more obscure that I watched growing up that I liked a lot. But why? I mean, in terms of Marlins, Rob Nen as a kid was a big one for me.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, and he had the mullet. I remember my aunt.
Fish on the Farm says Jorge Julio.
Jorge Julio.
Ooh,
That's a good
that's a good one.
Rob Nen is like imprinted in my brain because when we had season tickets as a kid growing up, for whatever reason, my aunt thought that Rob Nen was like the hottest guy to ever walk this earth.
Okay.
So yeah, it was so Rob Nen is like imprinted on my brain. I mean, honestly, Mariano too is probably up
Young
there.
Kim.
Ah man, I loved Papelbon back in the day because I know he'd been Red Sox, but when he'd come in like shipping off to Boston, like the first like real badass,
Yeah, that was cool.
Walkout song was really cool. Another one I liked a lot growing up was like Lee Smith. Lee Smith was a really good one growing up. I remember this is gonna age me terribly, but I remember having a Showdown card once upon a time when I was a kid. If for those of you that played Showdown once upon a time. There was a few closers there, man, that I really liked.
I'm gonna go with
Kimbrel.
Fonseca.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Antonio Fonseca.
Come on, keep it in the Marlins.
Well, Young Kim was one of my favorites just because he gave us great moments back in 2001. For those of you that aren't aware, he blew 2 save opportunities against the Yankees in 2001 World Series. He birthed. No, he wasn't the one that birthed Mr. November, but still, I know I'm being selfish now. And Fish on firm. Hoffman was traded for Chef.
Yeah, that was a good trade.
That was a fine trade. Yes, Trevor was fantastic. Yeah, I mean, Hoffman ended up being one of the greats. Sheffield. Do you think Sheffield
second all time in?
Yes.
Yeah,
he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You would put him up there in the same caliber as Hoffman.
I mean, he. The thing is I think we talked about this too. Like Chef,
he got fucked, man.
Chef had all the hallmark numbers you look at for
Hall of Fame.
Right? Like he has the 500 home runs usually is like the marker for a hitter, right? Like you have 500 home runs, 3,000 hits, you're in. John Rocker, oh my god, that guy was fried, dude.
Tim Spoonie Barger, man. When's the last time you heard that name?
I don't even know if Tim Spoonie Barger remembers being a closer in Major League Baseball.
Whoa.
Nah, Puck Baseball is going deep cuts. Nah, you can't do that.
Carl Pavano, I liked Carl Pavano a lot. He was very good on the Twins too.
Oh, favorite Marlins pitcher. That's a good one.
One of my one of the best Marlins fights if you ever look it up.
Well, you know what? Let's save best Marlins pitcher for next week because we're gonna need a lot more filler to talk about because the Marlins are not giving us much shit to talk about right now. We'll have some more fun topics like this because
I'll tell you my least favorite reliever of all time real quick was Raynel Pinto. I hate that guy with a fucking passion.
Yeah,
something about his face.
Mine was AJ Puck.
Hair.
How about
he
that?
looked like a clown when he had like the hair coming out from under his hat. Like no.
Oh, Jason Ishringhausen, another closer for me. Jason Ishringhausen. There it is.
That's a good one too.
And I take it back. Not AJ Puck, Tanner Scott. All right. Any final words there, Callie?
We're gonna do this shit again next week. So what's the fucking point?
Spaz.
Next week we're gonna be at 12 wins. Book it.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, because we didn't do predictions. Because
it's not worth it.
Exactly. That's why I didn't do it. That's why I didn't do the predictions. But okay, I like it. So you're predicting two wins for the next week.
Yeah, got it.
Bratton, final words. Do we get to 12 wins?
No, we don't get to 12 wins. I think
we'll get to 11.
That's we're playing the Phillies.
Yeah, and then the Tigers. I think we get to 11 wins.
Mike Dunn, another great one. AJ Ramos, another great closer in Marlins history.
Oh,
I like it.
There we go. But yeah, no, just make sure you guys see if you can cancel your Bally subscriptions before your renewal period. So you don't have to watch this because the best thing Comcast ever did was drop Bally's.
That's the best thing I did get a VPN, so I don't have to pay fucking Bally's. So
David Robertson was a failure for so many teams. I don't understand how the guy keeps getting.
That's Danny's favorite reliever of all time.
No, man, that guy was, and he was the setup man. Oh, he was brutal. All right, for those of you listening on audio, we appreciate you listening all the way to the end. This has been brutal, but we appreciate it anyway. Please leave us 5-star comment review. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching all the way to the end. Please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends that somebody's talking Marlins and trying to keep it entertaining. And for those of you that joined us in the chat, we appreciate you. Trip down memory lane, that was really fun. hopefully we do more stuff like this because it's brutal otherwise.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we'll be back next week celebrating 2 more wins. So until the next one, have a good one.